yes ครับ
Thank you. So I am now start recording the sessions for you and sharing my screen already. So now you should be able to see my screen. So let me check whether you all have signed into the class.คุณแพรวค่ะคุณธีรดลค่ะคุณปัณวิทย์ค่ะ all these names I called you haven't signed in just yet so please do so right now. The exchange students, are you here?
Yes, can you hear me?
All right. Wait. I will need to talk to all of you in just a little bit. คุณแพรวค่ะคุณปัณวิทย์ค่ะ
just find it ค่ะ
All right. Exchange students, are you all here? So Hela, you're here, and then who else?
I'm also here, or Solia.
How do I spell out your name? Orsi?
Yeah, Orsi or Orsi.
Orsi. Orsi, all right. And let me check. Dylan?
Yes, I'm here, miss. Hello.
Okay, all right. So Jessica? Jessica? You're not here, right? All right. So you would have to be able to get into Microsoft Teams using your @dome email. So if you have @dome email, then you will sign in as a student. Then you can work on quizzes and assignment. But now, and also you can see the recorded clips for the prior classes, right? But now you sign in as guest, meaning that you will not be able to see the attendance. You will not be able to see quizzes, assignments, and a lot of other things. Okay, so that's the problem, right? So that's the problem. So Hela, you said that you are not in the system. You are in the system. So let me show you this so that you know that you are already in the system. But the problem is you don't know your, like this, right? So this is you, Hela. You are in the system already. This is your email. So I think it's actually activated, but it's just that you have to know your password. So for that, same as Jessica, you are in a system as well, and Dylan, you are also in a system. I can find all of you here in the system, meaning that you do have the email @dome. It's just that you have to find a way to get into that @dome email, right? So you know your email already, but you don't know your password. That's what you have to find out. So you have to talk to CIA to help you out with that. Otherwise, you will not be able to take quizzes and then be part of this, class, right? As a student.
How do we get into contact with CIA?
The CIA is the staff at the international office. So I'm sure that they have like a live group or something or email that you can contact them with. I think the email cia@tbs.tu.ac.th นะคะ cia@tbs.tu.ac.th, right? So that's the email I think that you can use to contact the CIA. All right. Are you connected via line?
We have
in the line program, right? It's a chat program that we are using in Thailand. So they have like help desk that you can contact through the line program. I have already given the contact information in the Facebook group. So if you go to our Facebook group and then scroll down a bit, then you can see the help desk, right? For this ICT help desk. So you contact them and then ask for the password. Okay. Oh, thank you ค่ะคุณสุภาเวทนะคะ so this is how you contact the CIA of TBS. Okay, so please.
Line ID, sorry, because I think we can't access the chat here.
Oh, do you see my screen? I type it up in the screen here.
Yes, I can see that.
So you have to find a way to, but usually my exchange students, they don't have problem getting into the program. So it's your first name and then the three dot, first name and then dot, and then the three letters of your last name, and then at dome.tbs, I'm sorry, at dome.tu.ac.th, and then the password would be your passport number. Right, that's usually the case, but I don't know why wouldn't it work here, but usually that's the case. Okay, so make sure that you can get into the system, and whenever you can get in as a student, then you let me know so that we can take care of the quizzes that you may have missed. All right, so that would be for the exchange students. So let me check again whether the rest of you have already signed in. Okay, all right, good. So since you all have signed in already, I think we can get started,นะคะ? And then you see my screen already. All right, so today we will talk about this chapter 1, which is the financial statements. So you get to learn, the details about financial statements, and also you get to see the example of the financial statements presented by President Bakery Public Company Limited. So this is actually the reason why last week I asked you to explore the information related to President Bakery. So if you understand it's a business operation, you know the products, lines of business that they are in, then hopefully when you look into the financial reports, you will then understand better, right? So that will be the main topic for today's session. So let me starting out with the financial statements over here. The company that I will be using as the example is President Bakery Public Company Limited. So it's PB, right? So if you go to the Stock Exchange of Thailand website, the tick symbol, this is what we call tick symbol. So the tick symbol for President Bakery is actually PB,นะคะ? PB. Meaning that if you want to search for the information, then you type in PB and then you get to see the information. Okay, so let me. You have 2 accounts? All right.
No, sorry, I just had to connect with my laptop because I was on my phone before. Sorry.
All right. Okay, that's okay. All right. So let's take a look at this PB, which is the tick symbol for President Bakery. So if you go to the Stock Exchange of Thailand website, it's SET website, right? Stock Exchange of Thailand. Then you type in PB here, right? PB. All right. And then you click on enter. You will then get the information related to President Bakery Public Company Limited. And right now, the share is traded at 69.75, 69.75. Then let's take a look at the information of this company. It's a general information, right? General information. So for this general information, okay, so the company is called President Bakery Public Company Limited, and the industry is in agro and food industry. The sector is food and beverage, right? Food and beverage. And the first trading day of this company is, years back, right, on the Christmas day of the year 2002. So it has been in the stock exchange of Thailand for almost 20 years. And the par value is 1 baht, right? And there are 450 million shares that are registered with the government. So if you multiply the number of registered shares to the par value per share of 1 baht, then you're going to get the authorized capital for 450 million, right? This is in baht, right? 450 million baht. So let me take the screenshots and then hope that I can send this to you if it's work. แป๊บนะคะ All right. Okay. So let me send this to you through chats so that you have a copy of this, or you can just do the search, go to the Stock Exchange of Thailand website and then search for PB so that you can see what I see here on the screen. All right. So now, let me show you the calculation of this 450 million baht one more time by typing for you in a chat. This is what we call authorized or registered, same thing. Okay? You can call authorized or registered capital. Right? Authorized or registered capital. So this is determined by taking the authorized or registered shares, right? And then multiply that by the par value per share, right? So like in this example, the authorized share is 450 million shares, right? And then you multiply that by 1 baht par value, right? So altogether you have 450 million baht in the authorized or registered capital. Okay, so this is how you do the calculation. You do the calculation by taking 450 million shares that you register with the government at the time that you form a company, and then you multiply that by the par value of 1 baht. So if you multiply them together, then you get 450 million baht in the authorized or registered capital. So that's the authorized capital, for this particular company, 740 million, right? And what else? Right, so this is the information in terms of the number of shares. There are 450 million shares that are registered with the government. All right, and this is a dividend policy. The company has the policy to declare dividends at the minimum of 50% of the net profit after tax and statutory reserve. And also over here, you get to see the list of the board of directors. So you have Kun Pipat Paniangwet, right? Some of you mentioned his name in the presentation last week. And also we have some other names as well as part of this board of director. And let me go to this financial statements and highlights. If you want to see quick information in terms of the financial numbers, then you click on this financial statements and highlights. So over here, as you can see on the screen, right, you get to see the key numbers, right, key financial numbers. Again, some of you touch on some of these numbers when you do the presentation last week. And also not only that, you get to see also the financial ratios that the Stock Exchange of Thailand believe that they are relevant to the investment decision. All right, and over here, if you want to see the information in graphs, you can also click here. All right, and when you click here, you can also choose what you want to see. Like for example, you want to know the revenue figure, right, of the company for the past 5 years, and then you also want to see the profit generated by the company for the past 5 years, right? So you click on that, and then you get to see the graph real quick. Okay, so this is really convenient. All right. And also over here, if you click on the ones that said financial statements, then you can download the most recent, right? The most recent financial statements of this particular company. So as you can see over here, the most recent financial statements, actually the financial statements for Q3 of the year 2021, right? We know that the year 2021 has ended, but now the company is still in the process of preparing the financial statements for the whole year and also get those financial statements audited by the auditor. So it's still in process, right? So this is the most recent one. Now, if you want to see the past period financial statements, then you have to go through the news, right? Usually the stock exchange will maintain the new archive, right, for 5 years back. So over here, if you want to search for the information of this company, then you can look back into this news, right? And what I want to find is the financial statements for the year 2020. So it's over here. On the 16th of Feb of the year 2021, the company report this audited financial statements for the year 2020 to the stock exchange, right? And if you want to get a copy, then you can download this, right? And then you get the auditor's report, you get the financial statements, and you get the note, right? So you can just save the file, okay? Real quick, real easy. Okay, so this is available for the public. Okay, so this is public information. All right. What else can you find from this website? If you click on major shareholders, then you get to see the major shareholders of this company. So the majority of the shares are owned by Thai President Food Public Company Limited, and then Saha Patana Inter Holding, and then Kun Pipat Paniang Wait, which is the chairman of the board, as you can see right earlier when I mentioned his name, right? And this is a list of major shareholders of this company. Then if you click on rights and benefits, you're going to get the information on the dividend. So as you can see here, in the year 2021, the company declared 2 dividends, right? The first one is during April, and then another one is during September. So in April it's 0.94 baht per share, and then in September it's about 0.84 baht per share, and altogether for the whole year it's about 1 point something baht, almost 2 baht, right? So if you have the shares, then you get these dividends. And then if you want to see daily code, meaning the current price, okay, so you click on here, and then you get to see the price at the current time. But if you want to know the historical price, 6 months back, then you can click on this, right? And you get to see 6 months prices. Okay, so you can see the movement of the price of the stock of this company. Right, so this is the information that you can gain from the Stock Exchange of Thailand website related to this particular company. Okay, so any questions there? Okay, you just type in the tick symbol PB, and then you can do the search for the information. Yes.
So the authorized registered capital reflect how big the company are, ใช่ไหมครับ?
You can say that, yes. Yes, you can say that. So there would be a lot of variables. Let me elaborate on this. Very good questions you have there. So the registered capital is one of the factors that we can say how big the company is. And also in terms of size, okay, in terms of company size, there are many other variables that we can determine the size of the company as well. So we have this registered capital, we have the market capitalization, which is the market price of the share in the market, multiplied by the number of shares, of course. And also we can look at the revenue size, we can look at the profit size, we can look at the asset size as well, right? So there are many different factors that we can use to determine whether this is a big company or not, right? So sometimes we say, oh, this is the company with a market cap of 2 billion, right? So we use market cap. Or we can say, oh, this is the company with the asset size of 100 billion, right? So, you know, we can use various different measures to determine how big the company is, but this is one of them. Like a very good question you have. Like a คุณ สุภวิทย์เหรอคะ Is that the question?
สุภเวศครับ thank you มาก
สุภเวศ okay สุภเวศ okay all right so let's continue on. For this, right, you know how to find the information of President Bakery, the PB. Okay, and another thing that I would like to talk about is the fact that this company is a public company limited. So in terms of the public company limited, let me type it up in the chat for you. So for the public companies limited, by the way, in Thailand, there are two types of companies, you know, public company limited and the private or company limited, all right? Okay, so this can also be called PCL, okay? PCL, no? Or this can also be called public company in short, okay? Same thing, no? So public company limited, PCL or public company would be governed by Public Company Limited Act. EE2535, okay? So, you know, if you want to form a public company, let's say, right? If you want to form a public company, then you have to comply with the law that said Public Company Limited Act BE2535, or in Thai we call พรบบริษัทจำกัดมหาชนพุทธศักราช 2535, right? So that's the law that govern the public companies in Thailand. And if you're a private company, then you are governed by separate sets of law, different sets of laws, right? So private company limited, or sometimes we just call this as company limited, okay, in short, or just private company, right? So there are many different ways that we can call the company in this sort. So the private company would then be governed by the commercial laws. Okay? So if you want to form a private company, there will be less of the burden in terms of the things that you have to do. It will be less regulated compared to the public company. Okay, and the laws that govern how the private company is formed would be the commercial law. In Thai, we call กฎหมายประมวลกฎหมายแพ่งพาณิชย์ Okay, so it's a separate set of laws. So there would be different requirements, right, for the public company versus private company. If you want to be listed in the stock exchange of Thailand, then you have to register it as a public company. All right. So all the listed companies in the stock exchange of Thailand must be public. Must be public. Because the shares, bonds, or some other instruments are traded in a public market. So you have to form your company as a public company. All right. Now, so now you know the public company and the private company. Okay. And for the company that we will be using as an example, of course, it is a public company. All right. Now, let me talk about the financial statements. Okay, for the term financial statements, everyone, okay, so for the term financial statements, you can see that there's S at the end, right? Okay, so you can see that there's S here, right, at towards the end. Why? The reason is there are a lot of financial statements, right? Not just one, but many of them, right? So my question to you is, would you please identify the number of financial statements, the number of financial statements that the company presented, and what would be the title of them. So list the financial statements that you can find presented by this company, and altogether, how many do we have? One thing that I would have to let you know that is there will be quiz at the end of the session. So if you delay the lecture, meaning that I will not be able to finish up things that I would have to say, and you would have to find the answer to the quiz yourself. So I can wait as long as you want, right? But if you keep delaying, I mean, not responding to my question, then I would be able to cover only a short, only a small portion of what I planned. But you have to work on the quiz at the end of the session anyway, right? So it's up to you.
Can you shortly scroll the up in the chat so that we can see again which website we have to go on, and maybe also repeat the question?
Your friends, Kun Sathaporn, right? Kun Sathaporn has already uploaded this document for all of you. So thanks to him.
But we can't join the chat here in Teams because we are not members yet. Like we don't have access to the chat.
Oh, do you have access to this as well? Do you see this?
We see this, but we don't have access to it.
And yeah, will you be able to download this?
Can you maybe send or insert that in the Facebook group, because we can't have this in the chat here? Facebook.
No, I mean, do you see this post that I post in the general? You see this? Oh, you don't see at all?
No, we can see it now that you're sharing your screen, but we cannot access it.
Meaning that you don't see anything I posted here, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So for that, It's quite big, so it would take a while. So it will take a while, all right? I will come back to this in just a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So from the responses, นะคะ from คุณนลนี right คุณสุภเวช right คุณจุธาวัฒน์ okay คุณภาวริษา right คุณแพรว นะคะ very good that you responded. So overall, there would be 4 financial statements that the company would need to present. The first one นะคะ is called the statement of financial position. Or usually I would call this as SFP, statement of financial position. This is the first one that you will see, right? And then the second one is the statement of comprehensive income. So this is the statement of comprehensive income, the second one. And then the third one is the statement of changes in equity. Okay, so SCE, okay. And then for the number 4, which is one last, okay, it's the statement of cash flow. All right, so this is HCF, okay. So the responses that you have are all correct. There are 4 financial statements altogether. The first one is the statement of financial position. Second one is the statement of comprehensive income. And then the third one is the statement of changes in the equity. And then the fourth one is the statement of cash flows. I arrange it in the order that you will see them here in the pack. Okay. Now, another thing that I would like you to see as well is this one. Okay? So over here you see that this is the financial report for the 31st of December of 2020. Okay, 2020. All right. So this is actually the reporting date. Okay, the reporting date. Okay, and this PB is the reporting entity. Okay, so we get to see the financial reports reported by President Bakery, which is a reporting entity, on the reporting date by the end of the year 2020. So the ones that you will see over here is the the annual financial statements for the year 2020. You may wonder, Ajahn, why don't you give us the information for the year 2021? The reason is that it's still in process of preparing and get the financial statements audited for the year 2021. So we don't have that information available just yet until mid of Feb or maybe towards the end of February. So as of now, we don't have the 2021 information just yet, right? So that's the reason. Okay, so any questions here?
Ajahn, could you explain exporting entity again, please? What is reporting entity?
The company that provide a report to the interested party. So it's the company that prepared this statement. It's the company that report this information. So that's the reporting entity. All right, so it's the company that present this information. Okay, you finished with the notes now?
Finish ค่ะ
Okay, all right. So if you finish with the notes here, then let me continue on and then talk about the accounting standards that the company will need to comply with when they prepare the financial statements. So everyone, when they prepare the financial statements, let me come back to this, whether, okay, this is ready. So exchange students, it should be in the Facebook group now.
Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, no problem.
Only provide us with a link for this Thailand website where we can access the
Sure.
Thank you.
It's a Stock Exchange of Thailand website, but if you have the pack, that would be enough. I mean, because the pack have this documents, right? So this is a document that I also put in the course pack. Okay. All right, and over here, let's continue on. When they prepare the financial statements, okay, when they prepare the financial statements, there will be set of rules that they have to follow, right? And that set of rule would be different if you are publicly accountable entities, or if you are non-publicly accountable entities. Okay, so there are two sets of accounting standards that the company will need to follow. So let's take a look at this document. I will talk about the auditor's report in just a little bit, but I want you to see that there are two different sets of the accounting standard, right? Two different sets of the accounting standard. So you may wonder, Ajahn, what does it mean by the accounting standard, right? There are basically a set of rules that the company will need to follow when they want to prepare the financial statements. So this set of rules basically govern how the financial statements are prepared. And over here we have two different sets of the accounting standard. The first one is called the TFRS for PAEs, right, which is Thai Financial Reporting Standards for publicly accountable entities. And then we have another set, which is a smaller set, which is TFRS for NPAEs. Right, so this is Thai Financial Reporting Standards for non-publicly accountable entities. All right. So what you need to know is what does it mean by what does it mean by PAEs, and what does it mean by NPAEs, right? And then I will show you the set of standards that they would have to follow. Okay. Now, for the publicly accountable entities or PAEs, they are the companies or entities whose debt or equity instruments are traded in the public market. So I would have to say that all of the listed companies in the Stock Exchange of Thailand, they are all PAEs. Okay. So if they have shares, if they have bonds or some other securities that are traded in a public market, then they are part of this PAEs. And then, this would also include the companies that plan to get the shares or bonds traded in the public market as well. So even though right now they may not be listed just yet, right? But if they are in the process of filing the financial statements, so that later on they can get their company into the market, the stock market, right? So in that situation, they are part of this PAEs as well. Okay. Secondly, if there are entities that have fiduciary duty in asset management to the public. So what does it mean by that term? It's a accounting term actually. Basically, there are the companies that take care or look after somebody else's asset, like the banks, for example, insurance company. This is insurance แก้กูหน่อยนะ So this is insurance. It's a little bit of typo there. Insurance. So financial institutions, insurance company, securities company, mutual fund, or AFIT. So these are part of the PAE as well. So all the banks are PAE, and also the companies that registered under the Public Company Limited Act, BE 2535. And maybe there are some others in type of entities specified by the law, right? So this is kind of opened the rooms for new addition later on, right? So if you are PAEs, right, then you have to comply with the TFRS for PAEs. So let me go to the website of the Federation of Accounting Profession. So it's TFAC, right? TFAC .or.th, tfact.or.th. Okay, so for the TFAC, let me change it to English. All right. So this is a website of the Federation of Accounting Profession. So over here, the accounting standard, if you click on that, here you have Thai Financial Reporting Standard. Okay. Now this is Thai Financial Reporting Standard. Thai Financial Reporting Standard. This is a current version that we are using. So this is the TFRS for PAEs, right? For publicly accountable entities. So if you look at the list of standards that they have to follow, look at this now. The number 1, 2, 7, 8, 10, 12, 16, so on and on and on and on and on. A lot of them, right? So there are a lot of standards that the company will need to comply with, right? So this is a rather big set of standard, So usually people call this as a informal name as a big set of standard or มาตรฐานชุดใหญ่ right, in Thai, right? So it's a big set of standard. There are a lot of things that the company will need to comply to. But for the NPAEs, right? NPAEs. So who are NPAEs? Let me talk about the NPAEs. For the, where is it? Okay, here. The NPAEs, they are basically the entities that are not PAE, right? So for the rest of the entities, there are NPAEs. And we have specific set of standard that govern how the NPAEs preparing their financial reports. So this is TFRS for NPAEs, right? So let's take a look at the NPAEs. Over here, you get to see the TFRS for NPAEs. If you click on that, all right. So if you click on that, you get to see the TFRS for NPAEs, and there would be only a short list. Yeah, Kenny, so there will be a short list of the standard that you have to follow. So this is really, I would have to say this is simpler, much simpler, in fact, much simpler, less burden to the company, less complicated, much simpler, and less of the burden to the company. Right, so this is a smaller set of standard, or usually we call this as มาตรฐานชุดเล็ก, right? So if you are, public company, if you are listed, if you are banks, if you are insurance company, then you have to follow through a lot of accounting standards because you are publicly accountable entities, right? You have accountability to the public. So there will be a lot of requirements, a lot of regulations imposed on you, okay? So that's the different in the accounting standards. So for this, for this company, right? So this is PCL, right? So it's part of the PAE, right? That's why they have to comply with the TFRS for PAE. All right. So hope that you get the idea of different sets of the accounting standards that the company will need to comply to. So over here, when you look into the different, different accounting, different financial statements, right? You would see that before the financial statements are presented, then you get to see the auditor's report, right? So there will be the auditor's report presented first, and then 4 financial statements that you have just listed. And then after that, there will be notes to financial statements. Okay, so if you flip through, right, if you flip through the financial statements, then you get to see the auditor's report. Then you get to see 4 financial statements. Then you get to see the notes to financial statements. All right, so these are the things that you will see in the pack. Now, what I want to talk about at this moment is the auditor's report. You may wonder, why do we have to read the auditor's report? Let's just say that the company announced the sales in total of 7 billion and reported that they have the profit for 1 billion baht, right? So would you believe in all those numbers? Are those numbers reliable? What do you think? So if the company reported the sales of 7 billion and then the profit of 1 billion, would you, trust all those numbers that they are reliable? What do you think?
$1 billion.
What do you
Maybe
think? Would it be reliable or do you know the incentive or motivation of the company? The company would want the numbers to be nice. Is that correct?
yes.
Yeah, of course, right? The company wants the numbers to be nice, of course, right? So when they say, hey, I have the revenue of 7 billion, I have the profit of 1 billion, what do you think? Would you be able to rely on those numbers? Or those numbers are inflated because of the motivation, right, of the company to make the numbers look nice?
Yes, I think inflated.
Okay, maybe, right? That's maybe the case. So before we jump into the financial numbers and make use of all those numbers, what we need to do is we need to explore whether the numbers are reliable. So the next question is, how do we know, right, whether the numbers are reliable? What I suggest is that, okay, it's true that we have to look into the operation of the business, the sector that they are in and all that, right? My suggestion to you is, yes, of course, the tax would be paid out based on, the taxable profit. So the thing is, before you jumped into the accounting numbers and make use of all those numbers, you should explore whether the numbers are reliable. Okay, so you have to read the auditor's report, right? You have to read the auditor's report. So what the auditors would do is the auditor would go into that company and then they ask for the documents, evidence supporting the numbers. Like for example, if the company said, I have the sales revenue for 7 billion, then the auditor would, come in and then ask for the documents suggesting that they do have the 7 billion baht in revenues, right? They will look at the shipping documents. They will look into the receipt, purchase order and all that, right? So if the documents are matched, they are checked out, then probably that 7 billion baht in revenue is the true number. And also if the company said, oh, okay, I have land, right? I have 10 pieces of land and it's worth like 100 million, so on and so on, right? So for that, the auditor will again comes in and then asks to see the land deeds, okay, whether it actually belongs to the company, and also they would determine the value of the land from the document supporting the value of that land. And if the company said, I do have cash, right, of 100 million, maybe, right? In that situation, the auditor would ask to see the evidence of that cash, okay? So the auditor is the one who audits the financial numbers. Make sure that there's enough evidence supporting the numbers presented on the financial statements, okay? So over here, what we're going to do is we're going to read the auditor's report together, and then later on we then learn about the financial numbers of the company. Okay, so let me look at the auditor's report of this company. Okay, this is the independent auditor. Okay, independent auditor. So for the independent auditor, everyone, we can also call this as auditor, just auditor in short. That's okay as well, or CPA, which is certified public. Okay, certified public accountant, right? Certified public accountant. All right, so this is a CPA or certified public accountant. Over here for the certified public accountant, this is a report, right? Report from the auditor to the shareholders of the company, right? So this is a report from the shareholders. I'm sorry, this is a report from the auditor to the shareholders. So you may wonder who are the shareholders? They are actually the owner of the company, all right? So they are the owners of the company. Now let's take a look at the opinion of the auditor. Opinion of the auditor. So let's read this together. Okay, so let's read this together. Here she said, I have audited the accompanying statement of financial position. So this is the first financial statements in which the equity method is applied of President Bakery Public Company Limited. So from now on, the company, this is a reporting entity. As at December 31st, 2020, this is the reporting date. And the related statement of comprehensive income, this is the second statement. The statement of changes in the equity, the third one, all right? And then the statement of cash, the statement of cash flows. Okay, so they are all together 4 financial statements. Like 4 financial statements. This is the first one, right? The second one, the third one, and the fourth one, right? That you have all listed. Right, so you have listed them all earlier, and let's continue reading. So I have audited all these financial statements for the year that ended 2020, and also the auditor audit, right? The auditor audit the summary of significant accounting policies and other explanatory information. So what are these? These are actually the notes to financial statements. So there are notes to financial statements that described, more detailed information, for the users of the financial statements. And here it is that I have also audited the separate financial statements of the company for the same period. So over here, I would like you to see this. Okay, so there are actually two sets of financial statements. The first one is the financial statements in which the equity method is applied, and then the other one is called separate financial statement. So this is the first set. Okay. Sorry. And this is the second set, all right? So there are 2 different sets of the financial statements prepared by this company. The set number 1 is called the financial statements in which the equity method is applied, and then the other one is called separate financial statements. So let me show you, how the company presented the information. So let's take a look here. Okay, so over here, okay, so over here you see the financial statement in which the equity method is applied, right? And then over here you see the separate financial statements, okay? So these are the two sets of the financial statements that the company prepared, like our set 1, and then another set here, right? Set number 2. And not only they present two sets of the financial statements, but also they present 2 years as well, side by side, right? So this is the information at the end of the year 2020, and this is the information at the end of 2019. Same for here, right? 2020 and 2019, okay? So you get to see the presentation of two sets of financial statements for 2 years side by side in a 4-column format, right? 4-column format. Okay. Now let's go back. Now you should understand what do I mean by presenting two sets of financial statements, and there are 4 financial statements altogether, together with a note. All right. Now the most important thing that you would have to read here is the opinion, right? Because this is opinion paragraph. So here it said, in my opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respect. Okay, so this is what you want to see. Present fairly. So this is good. This is clean report. So this is good. This is clean report, right? So why do I call this as clean report? Okay, because there's no concerns or problems or anything, right? So this is clean report, like a clean report, all right? But the term clean report is actually informal term, like an informal term. For the formal term, this is called unqualified opinion, all right? Unqualified opinion. So here in this situation, the auditor rendered opinion on the financial statements, saying that the financial statements referred to above present fairly, right? So this is clean report. This is unqualified opinion, which is the best thing that you can get from the auditor. So this is the best thing that you can get from the auditor. This is clean report. This is good. This is unqualified, right? Now, when you read the information, when you read the information about the company through the financial statements, when you finish reading the information, you should be able to say something about financial position, how strong the company is financially. You should be able to say something about financial performance, right? How well the company is doing, whether the company is generating profit or loss. And also you should be able to say something about cash flow position of the company, right? So these are the 3 key pieces of information that you would be able to obtain when you read the financial statements, okay? And, when you read the financial statements, you have to make sure that the company comply with the Thai financial reporting standard. Okay, so let me stress on this again. The Thai financial reporting standard is TFRS, right? TFRS. And since this is a public company limited, right, which is part of the PAEs, so they have to comply with the TFRS for PAEs. Okay. And the Thai financial reporting standards are actually, consistent with the international financial reporting standards. Okay. All right. So any questions here for the opinion paragraph? So this is the best thing that you can get from the auditor.
Professor, what is IFRS?
It's International Financial Reporting Standard. International Financial Reporting Standard.
So TFRS for PAE is International Financial Reporting Standards.
It's consistent with.
Oh,
This is a Thai, right? So this is a Thai version. So this is a Thai version, right? It's consistent with the international version. So we have the accounting standards that are up to the international standard.
Just wonder something. So the one who gather all these informations are the accountants, right? And the one who check the information is the auditor.
One more time.
The one who gather all the information here is the accountant of the company ใช่ไหมครับ and the one who like check it one more time to match with TFR is the auditor.
Partly correct, but not the whole picture. So we have the accountant who work for the company, which is internal, and then we have the auditor, which is external. Okay. So if you look at the company, right? If you look at the company, that would be like management. Okay. And then the management has to, set the system that so that the information can be gathered and the financial report can be prepared, right? So they may hire the accountant, or they may ask, some other, accounting firm to do it for them, right? So it's up to them. They may have their own accounting function, or they may hire someone else to do it for them. So it depends. And then after the accountant prepare the financial statements in accordance with TFRS, then the management would have to sign off the financial statements. So the management is actually the one who is responsible for the financial statements. And then the auditor would then comes in and then audit the numbers, whether the numbers presented has supporting evidence or supporting documents. Okay, so that's how we divide the functions. So the auditor is not the employee of the company, right? So the auditor is someone outside the organization, because if it's someone inside the organization, then the audit may not be able to perform, right? So the auditor must be independent from the company. So that's why we call it as independent auditor. Am I answering your question, คุณสุภเวชหรือเปล่าคะหรือ who? I don't know.
Yes ครับ thank you very much ครับ
Okay. All right. So that's the opinion paragraph. Any other questions that I can take right now? Okay. If not, then let's continue on. If you continue reading, then you get basis for opinion. For the basis for opinion, you get to see how the auditors do their work, right? What are the standards that they have to comply with, and all that. And then when you read further, then you get to see what we call the key audit matters, right? So this key audit matter can also be called KAM, KAM. So let me elaborate on this KAM. What does it mean by KAM? Okay. When the auditor performs the audit, the auditor will gather a lot of information, right, supporting the numbers presented on the financial statements. And in the course of doing so, then they would find a lot of, information, a lot of, risk or complications or uncertainties, okay, embedded in all those numbers. So for that, the auditor may list some of the issues that they think relevant for your understanding of the financial statements. Or they may list the issues that they think involve high uncertainties, high risk, has a lot of accounting estimates into it, right? So the things that they think you should know. So for this key audit matters, it would depend on the judgment of the auditor of what they think relevant, what they think you should know in particular. So it's not going to be the same, for all the companies. It's unique only for that particular company that they perform the audit on, right? So I think it's worth reading. So over here, for this particular company, as you all know, the operation is quite straightforward and simple. And, it's a company that bake the bread and then sell the bread in wholesale, right? So most of the transactions are really straightforward, not much of the uncertainties and all that. So the only issues that the auditor rests here is the revenue recognition. Why the auditor rests the revenue recognition? It is because, there's sales promotion, discount, or a special discount, especially in wholesale business, right, that the company has given to the major customers to boost up the sales. And these issues may complicate the calculation of the revenues. So that's why, right, they list out the revenue recognition as one of the key audit matters. Okay, and then if you read through, then you get to see that the auditor also read the auditor's annual report. Okay, so the auditor also read the annual report and to see whether there's contradicting information or not. If not, then it's okay. But if yes, then they have to inform, the governing body of the company. Now to respond to Kun Supawet, right, question. So let me highlight this for you. Okay, so Kun Supawet asked very good questions earlier. Let me highlight this and then I'll let you see this. Okay, so the management is the one who is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements. So as I said, they have to arrange, certain systems in order to be able to gather the information. They may have the accountant, within the organization, or they may ask the accountant outside to help preparing the financial statements for them. So it depends. But they have to be the one who signed off because they are the one who is responsible, right, for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements. And for the auditor is actually the ones who audit the financial statements. They would look for the evidence supporting the numbers. They would make sure that the numbers presented, represent what really happened in that company during that period, right? And then they would then form the opinion. Okay, so the ones that we have seen is the unqualified opinion. There are some other types of opinion as well. I will let you know in just a minute from now. Okay. Then continue on. You can see that for this particular case, the auditor is Kun Siriwan Nitdamrong, and her CPA license of Thailand is 5906. CPA 5906, and she is from EY office. All right. So this EY is one of the big four, right? One of the big four accounting company. I would have to say auditing company. Okay. And for this, the auditor signed off the report here on the 15th of Feb of the year 2021. Okay, so you need to know the deadline, right? The deadline for the financial statements. So if it's year-end financial statement, year-end, right? Year-end. So for the year-end financial statements, what would then be the deadline? Okay, what would then be the deadline? It depends on whether you are listed companies in the stock exchange of Thailand. If you are listed, right, the deadline would be within 60 days after year-end. Right, so after the end of the year, you have 60 days to prepare the financial statements and get it audited by the auditor, and then submit the report to the governing bodies, right? So 60 days. But if you are non-listed, you have 150 days after year end, which is the same deadline as tax. Okay, so it's the same deadline as tax. But if it's quarter end, quarter end, right? For quarter end is only for the listed companies. You have 45 days after quarter ends. Okay, so this would be the deadline. This would then be the deadline. For the year end, one more time, right? Year end. If you are listed in the stock exchange of Thailand, then you have 60 days after year end. But if you are not listed, then you have 150 days after year end, which is the same as the tax deadline. But for quarterly financial reports, it's shorter in terms of the length of time. It's only 45 days after quarter end. Okay. All right. Now,พูดได้เลยค่ะ
What does it mean by listed? What does it mean by listed and non-listed?
Whether they are, traded in the stock market. So for listed, meaning that they have shares or bonds or some other securities traded in the public market, so they are listed in the stock exchange. Okay, for this year end, right? Your friends asked me in the morning, and I think it's a good question. So I'd like to share that questions and then my response to that questions to you as well. When we say year end, it's fiscal year end, right? So it's a financial year end, fiscal year end, or accounting year end. Okay? It may or may not be the same as the calendar year end. Depends, right? But for Thailand, specifically for Thailand, most of the company would have calendar year end as fiscal year end, right? So their year end is December 31st mostly. But there may be some of the companies that have, for example, September 30th year end, right? That's quite, common. And if you look at the financial statements of the companies listed in some of the countries' market, they may have, for example, June 30th year end, right? So it depends on what they want to do in terms of, their year end, okay? But for most of the Thai companies, the year end would be consistent with the calendar year, right? So that depends, okay? All right, then. Okay, so now you should be able to understand the auditor's report. So any questions here?
What do you mean by FSS?
It's financial statements.
Okay, thank you.
All right. For the auditor's report, all right, the auditor's report, the ones that you have seen, right, is what we call unqualified opinion, which is the best thing that you can get from the auditor, unqualified opinion. So for unqualified opinion, the auditor would say financial statements present fairly in all material respect, which is good, right? present fairly in all material respect, which is good. And then let's take a look at this qualified opinion. Qualified opinion. Let me put it this way. It's actually very difficult to understand because you get to learn a lot more in accounting so that you understand how qualified and unqualified this adverse or disclaim opinion is concluded, right? For those that are majoring in accounting, then they have one full course, talking about the auditing procedures and how to conclude the audit opinion. So it's one full course on this. But for you right now, let me give you a kind of a brief introduction to it. I will not, go into the detail of how to conclude whether it's qualified, unqualified, and all that, right? But just want to give you a big picture so that you understand from the investor point of view. Let's say that there are 4 financial statements here, right? 4 financial statements. For the 4 financial statements, everyone, if the auditor performed the audit and then find documents or evidence supporting the numbers presented here, and they have no problem finding all those documents or evidence supporting the numbers, then I would say financial statements present fairly in all material respect, which means unqualified, right? Unqualified opinion. Now, let's say that there are certain issue, let's say this issue here, right, on this statement, right? So this issue, right, this issue here on the statement, let's say that there's like a lot of uncertainties or there's like assumptions putting in, and the auditor may or may not, agree with the assumption. Or maybe there's like, misrepresentation, right, in this particular issue, right? So but all other things are okay, right? All other things are okay except for this particular issue. So for this case, what the auditor will say will be, except for this particular issue, except for this issue, all other things are okay, right? So except for this issue, financial statements present fairly. Meaning that, if you look at the overall presentation of the financial statements, they're still okay, except for this particular issue, right? So this is qualified. Okay. Now let's take a look at the example. I have example for you. And this is qualified, right? So look at this. This in our opinion, see that in our opinion, except for the effect of the matters described in here, the financial statements present fairly, right? Just like what I mentioned. All other things are okay except this one, okay? Except this one issue. Okay, so over here, if you go to the Stock Exchange of Thailand website, okay, and then you go to JAS, JAS, okay, JAS, then you will see Jasmine International, okay, JAS. If you go to Jasmine, right, and then you look for the news, you can look for the financial statements at the end of the year 2020. Here, no? All right. So you look for the information of Jasmine financial statements at the end of the year 2020, and then you download that. Then you get to see this. So this is the information of Jasmine, Jasmine. So for Jasmine, you have qualified opinion, qualified opinion. So let me screenshot this for you. So I have taken the screenshots for you, so you get to keep the copy. This is qualified opinion. Okay, so the auditor said, in my opinion, except for the possible effects of the matters described in the basis for qualifying opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly. Okay, so this is qualified. Now, if you look at the third one, right? The third one is actually adverse opinion. Adverse opinion. For the adverse opinion, is getting worse. If you were to compare, let's say that we have again 4 financial statements. We have 4 financial statements, and then we have 4 financial statements here, and then there's like a lot of issues going on that the auditor cannot find evidence supporting the numbers, or maybe there's a lot of I would have to say assumptions and estimate putting in. So they don't really know whether the numbers actually represent what really happened there, right? Or maybe the issue is really, really huge and have the impact on some other financial statements as well. So if you look at the overall presentation of the financial statements, the whole thing would be just wrong. Okay, so if that's the case, then you have to render what we call adverse opinion. In the adverse opinion, the auditor will say the financial statements do not present fairly. Do not, Lena, do not present fairly. Okay, so let's take a look at the example here that I put in for you. So I hope that you see this. Okay, so they would just say that financial statements do not present fairly. I mean, the whole pack, the whole thing, do not present fairly. Right? In all material aspects, the financial positions, financial performance, and also the cash flow of the company. All right, so this is the example of adverse opinion. Then the fourth one, all right, the fourth one is disclaimer. So what do we mean by disclaim? For disclaimer, this is when the company, you know, have a lot of uncertainties, have a lot of risk associated with going concern. So what do we mean by that term, going concern? The term going concern means that, you know, the auditor kind of the auditors do not know whether the company will continue on its business in the future. May or may not be, right? That's a lot of risk, a lot of uncertainties. Like if you look at Thai Airways, for example, you know what's going on with Thai Airways, right? Given the impact of the pandemic, the company may not be able to go on with its business in the future, right? So in that situation, the auditor would not be able to, because there are a lot of risks associated, a lot of uncertainties associated. So the auditor may not be able to express any opinion. So there's no opinion render, no opinion render. Okay, so that's disclaim. Or maybe there's cases that the auditor may not be able to obtain enough information to perform the audit. Right? They don't have enough information to form any opinion, so they do not render any opinion. So over here, if you look at the example, then the auditor will say there's no opinion. Okay, we do not express opinion. So there's no opinion. There's no opinion. Okay, so again, if you go to the website of the Stock Exchange of Thailand, okay, and then you search for Thai Airways. Okay, now for Thai Airways is THAI. So if you search for Thai Airways, again, look for the financial information, auditor's report, and then you get to see this. So we get to see this. Report by the Thai auditors of Thai Airways. Okay, so for Thai Airways, this is this disclaimer, as you can see, right? Disclaimer. So there's no opinion, because there's uncertainties associated with the going concern, whether the company will continue on its business in the future, because it's now under bankruptcy law case, right? Okay, so this is the example. The auditor said we do not express any opinion on this financial statement. All right, so any questions here? So now there are 4 different types of the opinion, right? So hope that you understand them all roughly. Unqualified, qualified, adverse, disclaim. So any questions here?
Can you elaborate more on the adverse opinion once again?
Okay, so it just means that the numbers are wrong. In short, the numbers are wrong. So throw it away. Don't get involved with that company. Okay, for adverse, adverse meaning something must be really wrong. So the auditor said the financial statements do not present fairly. So any other questions?
So meaning the qualified one is not that wrong, right?
For the qualified, there are certain issues, right? Not the whole thing, but certain issues.
So like the adverse is like ผิดจนไม่รู้จะผิดยังไงอย่างนั้นนะคะแบบ is have many issue than the qualified one.
To make the whole thing wrong, right? So there may be like not so many issues, maybe just one issue, but this issue is so huge, and this particular issue may have the impact on several financial statements. Then they would make the whole thing wrong, right? So it's not about number of issues, but it's the matter of how important that issue is, or how big that issue is, and how widespread the problem is. So if the problem is so widespread and then make the whole thing wrong, all the 4 financial statements are problematic, in that case it's adverse, right? But if it's like certain issues with a limited scope, limited impact on the financial statements, in that situation is qualified.
And what's the difference between unqualified and adverse?
Oh, unqualified meaning good. Unqualified meaning good, like clean report, no problem. Adverse meaning a lot of things are wrong and the financial statements are wrong.
Oh, unqualified is good.
It's good. The best one. Unqualified is the best one. Right? Unqualified, qualified. And then disclaim and adverse, I don't know whether which one is better. Both of them are not so good. Right? So yes.
Will you give the Excel sheet to us? The one that you show us. Oh, okay.
I have given you everything I have. นักศึกษาไม่มีเอกสารเหรอคะมีไหม
Got it, but I mean like the Excel one seems to be more elaborate on each topic.
It's on 71 น่าจะ71
Oh
เดี๋ยวจะโดน
ขอโทษครับครับเป็นเรื่องครับกายขอบคุณครับ
You have everything I have. You have all the things I have ที่รัก I did not hold back anything, so you have all this information. เปิดดูหรือยังลูกไอ้400อ่ะ There are like 400 pages of my course pack and you have everything I have. เห็นหรือยังคะลูกหนูหาไม่เจอเหรอ
ใช่ครับผมไปดูแต่หน้าแรกๆแล้วก็ไม่ได้ดูหน้า70ครับขอบคุณมาก
You have everything I have.
On which page is what we just discussed on page?
I don't know the page number. You have to ask some other students.
It's from
71st.
71st.
It's in chapter 1, right? So it's in chapter 1. You have everything I have here in PDF. I will not give you Excel. Okay, but you have everything I have in PDF. มีเหมือนครูเป๊ะเลยนะคะลูกแต่เป็น PDF, right? You have everything I have in PDF นะคะ It's the same exact thing, same thing, right? You have the very same thing but in PDF นะคะ For the Excel, I would not give you this. All right, so hope that you can find this material. You have everything I have, but in PDF format, not in Excel. Okay, Excel is for me. Okay, all right. So any questions? If not, then I think it's time for us to take a short break. And during this time, if you have any questions, you can also ask questions. Okay, but if not, then let's take a break. So break and be back at 2:45 p.m. Naka, 2:45. Do you have any questions?
Maybe just one question. Was the last week we didn't get the link yet? So was last week about chapter 0?
Last week is actually the course outline. I talk about the course outline, and also I asked the students to form a group, and then they do a presentation on President Bakery. So that's what they are doing last week. So they do the presentation on this, first assignment. Like for example this, okay, so last week they do the presentation on President Bakery, so that we get to know more about President Bakery. That would lead to this week discussion. Right? So that's what we have done last week. In terms of the material, this is the first day that we start out with the material in the course pack.
Okay, and how do we join the groups?
Okay, so I think the exchange students can group together and then prepare this one-page, infographic, gather the information about President Bakery. Let me show the example from some other groups as well. Same group.
Is there more often like teamwork? Because isn't it then easier if we like go with some Thai students in a group?
No, not much of it. Not much of it. So this is the only one that we have in the previous class. So Hela, would you be able to team up with some other exchange students, enroll in this? We have 4 in this section, and then we have Yanis in the first section. So would you be able to gather them all, 5 students together, and then prepare one infographic, one page, so that you get the points from quiz number 1 as well?
Where do we get like information how we can do the
infographic? The information can be gathered from the documents that I'm sending to you, or you go to the website of the company here from house. You go to the website of the company, so and then you look for the products, right, of the company. You read for the information. You look at the annual report. Right, so they have annual report in English as well. I have already posted the annual. This is not the annual report. Where's the annual report? Can anyone post the annual report for the exchange students? So this is the annual report. So you can get the information from here and then compile just one page infographic. Okay? So it's one page infographic. Let me show the example from some other groups. So you gather information in whatever aspect. So there's this the same. So like this infographic. Okay, so you gather information on whatever aspect you think relevant to this farmhouse company. Maybe it's product, maybe it's customers, maybe it's about management, vision, mission, or maybe it's about financial numbers. Whatever you think relevant, so that we get to know more about this farmhouse. Just one page infographic. Okay, together as a group. So you would have like 5 members นะคะ 4 from this section and then 1 Yanis นะคะ for the morning session. So would you be able to group up and then prepare one infographic for me?
Yeah. Who is in that group? Like, who should be in that group? Because I know Orshi and Dylan, but
okay,
the rest I have no idea.
So let me find we have Yanis, right, which is the students from the morning session. I tag him in the Facebook group in the same post, so you should be able to contact him. Okay, and then Dylan, and you, Hela, and then Jessica, and then Orsi.
What's Jessica's last name? Because I
Jansen.
Okay.
JANSSON. JANSSON.
Okay.
But I have not seen her in the Facebook group, and I have not seen her here as well. So there's no Jessica. Maybe she changed her mind. I don't know. Right. So you team up. You team
Send
up.
it to you, like over email or over the Facebook group, or because we are not in the Teams thing yet.
You keep it until you can get into a team, and then you let me know, right?
Okay.
Then I can, yeah. So when you finish preparing it, you keep it, and whenever you can get in as a student, then I would ask you to post into this assignment, right?
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So let me post this the list of names of the exchange students in the Facebook group, นะคะ so you know who they are. นะคะ exchange student here. Okay, let me tag you นะคะ so that so let me tag you in a Facebook group so that you know the list of the students that you have to gather so that you have that one page infographic. Okay. Thank you very much for helping out because it's very difficult for me to, gather them all. Okay, thank you, Ka. You take a break, please. So hopefully you are back from the break already. Okay. คุณนนลนีค่ะ you have to post it in the Facebook group because the exchange students would not be able to get access to this chat.
ได้ค่ะ
Thank you. And let me share my screen one more time so that we can continue on our discussion. So we are now get to know the information about President Bakery and also the different types of the financial statements that President Bakery is presenting. And also we have read the auditor's report of the President Bakery. And since it's get the clean report, we can then proceed. So let me show you this information about financial statements. The financial statements, is actually prepared for the public, right? Not for the specific group of users. So that's why we call this as general purpose financial statements, right? General purpose financial statements. So basically, the company will prepare the financial statements so that the users of the financial statements can assess the financial position of the company, financial performance of the company, and also the cash flow, right? Now comes to the financial position, right? What are the indicators? The indicators of the financial position would be asset, liabilities, and equity. So these three items, asset, liability, and the equity, they would depict the financial position of the company, all right? And for the financial performance, financial performance is something related to, how well the company is doing financially, whether the company can generate the profit or loss. So we have to look at the information on income, expenses, of the company during that period, right? So financial performance would be represented by the profit figure. And when you read the financial statements, you should be able to say something about cash flow position of the company, right? So cash flow is one of the information presented on the financial statements. Okay. Now, if you look at the three elements here, asset, liability, and the equity, they are changing all the time. Like for example, if you have like transactions, like some of the transactions may lead to the reduction in the asset. Some of the transactions may lead to the increase in the asset. So when there's transaction, that would have the impact on the financial position in the asset balance, liability balance, or the equity balance, right? So things could change. Now, if you look at the financial position, you may have positive change in the financial position, meaning you get stronger financially. Or you may have the reduction, right? Or negative change in the financial position. So it means that you get weaker financially, all right? You may wonder, Ajahn, why financial positions is changing? It is maybe because the company has revenues, the company has expenses, right? The company has profit or loss, right? Maybe that's one of the reasons for the change. Or maybe it is because the owner invests more in the company, or the owners take out some of his, money from the company, right? That could also lead to the change in the financial position. And, finally, there may be cash in and out, right? Cash in and cash out during the period. So this cash in and out would also have the impact on the financial position. So I would rather say that this income and expense, contribution to and from the owners, and also cash flow lead to changes in the financial position. Okay. So any questions here? All right. Any questions here? Maybe not. If not, then I would talk about the complete set of the financial statements, starting out from the first one, which is the statement of financial position. So what I would do is I would talk about each and every financial statements. Hopefully, within 1-2 weeks, I don't know, we get to cover them all, right? So that you get to see them all. So starting out from this first one, statement of financial position. So let me jump to here. For the statement of financial position, everyone, right? Statement of financial position. It's basically the report that present the financial position of the company at a point in time. And there are 3 indicators that depict, the financial position of the company. The first one is what we call asset, and the second one is called liability, and then the third one is called equity. Okay, asset, liability, and the equity. Right now, if you go to the financial statements of President Bakery, okay. So if you go to the financial statements of the company, this is the first statement that you would see, right? Statement of financial position. Okay, statement of financial position. So over here, you see the asset. See that? This is the asset. On this page, you see the asset. Okay, and then if you move along a bit, on this second page, you get to see the liabilities, right? Liabilities. And then if you move along a bit to the third page, then you get to see the equity. Equity. Okay, so now let me elaborate on each and every item, assets, liability, and the equity, respectively. Now, for this statement of financial position, I usually call this in short as SFP, statement of financial position. So you can see that this is a statement of financial position of President Bakery Public Company Limited. And this is the information as at December 31st, 2020. Why I need to, specifically identify the date, it is because, the financial position keeps changing, right? So the financial position keeps changing. When I do the presentation here, I have to, specifically identify the date. As you can see, December 31st, 2020. All right. And also over here, I have to have the unit of measure as well. This is in baht, right? In baht. All right. So this is in baht. All right. Now, let me show you the asset of this company. For the asset, right, the company has a lot of assets in this list. So altogether 10 billion, right, 10 billion. So you may wonder, what does it mean by the asset? So let me come back to this document so that we know the key definition of the term asset. The asset is a present economic resource controlled by the entity as a result of past events. When we say economic resource, it's something, right, that we think we can gain benefits in the future from. So let's elaborate on this a bit more. Suppose that you are the company, everyone, right? You think of yourself as a company. Suppose that you are the company, right? You are the company. And if you are the company, what are the economic resources that you can control and you think that you will gain the benefit from them in the future? Can you please list some of the example for me? Example of the asset, economic resources controlled by the company, and in the future, the company expects to get some kinds of economic benefit from that. Okay, building, factories. Okay, what else?
Labor.
Labor, all right. Oh, labor. Labor. Let me talk about it. Labor. You do type in labor. For the labor, Supavet, we can't really assign monetary value to them, right? We can say that, oh, this employee worth like 1 million and this employee worth like 10,000, right? So we can't really assign monetary value to the employee, to the labor forces. And in fact, we cannot really control their lives. They're free to leave at any time. Am I right? So if they don't want to do this work any longer, then they can resign. So labor is not part of the asset. All right. So from this chat, I have building, I have factories, I have raw materials, I have machine, I have truck, car, machinery, furniture, land, products. In accounting, we call product as the inventory. Now, inventory. The products in accounting, we call them as inventory. Vehicle, yes. What else? What are some other example? So you have land, you have products or inventory, you have machinery, you have factory, furniture, fixture, vehicles, and what else? There's a lot more. A lot more. Anything that you can think of? What do you mean by capital, Nolani? Can you be more specific of the term capital? What do you mean? You mean money or what? What do you mean by that term capital?
Money.
One more time.
Money.
Okay, in accounting we call that cash. Cash, like cash. Okay, a stand where you used to sell inventory. That's furniture, fixture, equipment. It's called yes. It's called a receivable or trade. Let me type it out for you. Maybe this is new to you. It's going to be called trade receivable. If it's related to trade, trade receivable, or receivable, trade receivable or accounts receivable. This is actually uncollected sales. So let me elaborate on this. Uncollected sales. So let's say that you have earned the revenue, right? You deliver the products already, you made the sales already, but you have not collected the money. So if that's the case, then you deliver your products, you have earned that sales, you have made that sale, but you have not collected the money. So in that situation, the uncollected sales would then be called the accounts receivable or trade receivable. Accounts receivable or trade receivable. Trademark, yes. What else? Brand, yes. What else? I think that would be okay. Exclusive list of asset that you have listed for me. So we have cash, right? We have receivable. We have the inventory. We have property, plant, and equipment, and also we have the intangible assets. Okay. Now, what do you mean by that term stock? No, Ramon, stock. What do you mean? Ramon, could open the microphone so that you can answer my questions or what?เสียงแบบฟังไม่ได้ละค่ะคุณนรมนเพื่อนคนอื่นฟังได้ไหมของคุณมันทำไมซ่ามากเลย
ไม่ได้ค่ะ
มันซ่าๆนะคะฟังไม่รู้เรื่องค่ะคุณนรมน So what do you mean by that term, stock? You mean products, or you mean shares, or you mean what?
Oh, the share that
Okay.
that buy from another company.
All right. So for that, in accounting, we call the investment, right? Investment. You buy the shares that are issued by some other company. Is that right? Is that right? You buy the shares that are issued by some other companies in the stock market.
Yes.
Is that what you mean? Okay. For that in accounting we call investment. Investment. All right. So a very good list of asset you have here. You have cash, right? You have the investment. You have receivable. You have inventory. You have property, plant, and equipment, and then you have intangible asset. Very good. Thank you for all your responses. Now let me continue on. For the list of assets, right? As you can see over here, in total, it's 10 billion, right? So in total, it's 10 billion baht. And over here, you have to divide the asset into current asset and the non-current asset, right? So there are basically two parts to it: current asset and the non-current asset. So let me elaborate on this. How do we classify the asset into current and non-current? Okay. So for the total assets, right? Total asset, you have current assets and also you have non-current, right? So you may wonder, how do we classify them into current and non-current? The cutoff is actually 1 year. Cutoff is 1 year or less. So the cutoff is actually 1 year or less. So what do you mean by that? How do we cut off, right? For the asset, right? For the asset, well, we use the cutoff based on the liquidity level of the asset. So let me elaborate on the term liquidity. So what does it mean by liquidity? It is actually ease of conversion into cash, right? Ease of conversion into cash. So how easy can you turn that asset to cash? How easy can you sell it off? How fast will you use it up, right? So that's liquidity level. Now, if you think that you're gonna be able to convert that into cash, make use of it in your operation or sell it off within a year or less, then that's current asset. But if it's longer than that, then it's non-current asset. All right. So you look at the liquidity level of the asset. If you expect to use up the asset within a year, to get the benefit from the asset within a year, to sell off the asset within a year, then that's current. Current. But if not, then it's long-term, it's non-current. So everyone look at this, please. The first asset that you would see here is cash and also cash equivalent, right? So I want everyone to see this, right? Cash and cash equivalent. So this is the very first asset that you would see. Why so? Because cash is the highest level of, it's the asset with the highest level of liquidity, right? So it's basically the most liquid asset of all. Right? So you have listed all the assets, right? So if I ask you, what is the most liquid asset of all? You have to say, oh, Ajahn, that's easy. That's cash. Okay? So the most liquid asset of all is cash. Cash. All right? Then let's continue on. What do we have here? We have cash, right? We have short-term investment. We have trade and other receivables. We have the inventories. Specifically for the inventory, the amount of the inventory is 168 million, 168 million, all right? And if you want to know more about the inventory, you have to look at the notes. See that? Notes number 10. See that? Notes number 10. Okay? So if you want to know more about the inventory, you have to look into the notes disclosure, and it's note number 10. So let me reduce the size a bit because I want to jump to note 10. Okay. So over here in the notes number 10 on the inventory, the number is in actually 1,000 baht. So you have to be careful. This is not in baht, this is in 1,000. So the total inventory is again 168 million. You know this already, right, from the financial statements. But what you don't know is the breakdown detail, right? So if you look at notes number 10, you get to see the breakdown detail of the inventory. Okay, you get to see that the company has finished products for 4 million, work in process for 4 million, raw materials for 80 million, and then packaging material for 37 million, spare parts and factory supplies for 40 to 43 million, right? So if you look at the notes disclosure, then you can see that you get to see a more detailed information. You see the breakdown of the numbers, right? You see more detail, more breakdown of the numbers. Okay, so this is the notes disclosure. Okay, now let me ask you, if you want to know more about the property, plant, and equipment, what would be the notes number that you have to find? Okay, so if you want to see the information on the property, plant, and equipment, right, what would be the notes number that you will find that information? Property,
16.
plant, and equipment. Okay,
16.
so it's note 16. Very good. How about intangible asset? What would be the note number?
17.
17, right? So now you know where to find the information. Okay, very good. So all in all, the company has total current asset for 5 billion, right? 5 billion. And then for the non-current asset, there are investments, right? Investment in joint venture, long-term investment, property, plant, and equipment, right of use, intangible asset. Now, let me talk about property, plant, and equipment and intangible asset. These are the two items that I like to talk a bit more on. นะคะ คุณสุภวิทย์ I will talk about cash equivalents later on, right? Not now, but later. So let's talk about property, plant, and equipment, right? So in accounting, we call this as PPE. PPE, right? Property, plant, and equipment. Property, plant, and equipment, the PPE. So what are the characteristics of the PPE? First, it must be tangible, right? Tangible. And then secondly, tangible meaning something you can touch, something with the physical substance, something that you can touch, right? So that's tangible. Secondly, you have them for use, not for sale, but for use. And then third of all, the life is longer than 1 year. Okay, so these are the characteristics of the PPE. Tangible, have them for use, the life is longer than a year. So can you please list the asset under this category? Tangible property, you have them for use, and the life is longer than a year. So would you be able to think of anything? Machine, all right, very good. What else? All right, furniture, vehicles, printer, building, office, cars, cloth. I'm not sure whether it's what type of business that you are in. If you have clothes as part of your PPE, what type of business that you are in? คุณนัทถามมันทำธุรกิจอะไร
like uniform อะค่ะ
What
like uniform
like the uniform for like like ธุรกิจ like freezer that they have to wear like a big jacket and that could be used
I
for
thought about like people working in the factories and they have to like wear some sorts of uniform, but I don't know what it is though.
Okay, so would that be part of the company's property, or would that be part of the personal property of the employee?
Like I don't know if they give it to the like some. I think some might be too expensive
Okay.
to like have like one for each like
Okay.
employee.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about like a big jacket, right? That they have when they want to enter into a freezer, a big freezer at the factory, like that, right? So
Yeah.
like cold storage, that kind of thing. So I do believe that that's long term. Okay, very good. So yeah, jacket, helmet. I do agree with that. It's long life. But if it's belong to the employees, then it's not part of the company's asset. That's what I want to say. And packaging, what do you mean by that packaging? Like packaging machine?
Yeah. Like
Okay.
maybe
So,
it's a material for package the product to the
oh,
goods.
no, for that, no. For that, it's not.
Okay.
For that is current. Okay? For that is part of the inventory. But if it's like packaging machine, then it's yes, part of the PPE. But if it's like packaging material, then it's part of the inventory. That's short term. Okay. So when you have the PPE, okay, when you have the PPE, and then you make use of the PPE, right? You use the factory, you use the machine, you use the car, you use the furniture, whatever. You use the computer. Then you have to charge depreciation. Okay. So depreciation is the title of the expense account. You have to charge depreciation expense when you use the PPE, except only for land, right? Or except only for land. Land would never ever gonna be depreciated. There's no depreciation on the land, right? No depreciation on the land. Okay, so make sure that you take note on that. No depreciation on the land. Now, let me move along to another type of asset that is intangible asset. Okay, so for the intangible asset, what are the characteristics? First of all, this is intangible, right? As the name suggests. So there's no physical substance. You cannot touch them. So basically, what are they? They are legal rights mostly, right? Legal rights that you owned, right? Something that you cannot touch, right? So it's intangible. And secondly, you have them for use, not for sale, but rather for use. And third of all, life is longer than 1 year. Okay. So if you look at the characteristics, they are very similar, right, to that of the PPE, except that it's not tangible. Okay. Then what would be the example? Okay. The example would be copyrights, trademarks, trade names, franchise right, logo, cartoon characters. So things that you owned and they are legal rights, like copyright, trademark, trade names, franchise right, concession rights, brand, right, logo. So no, rental is another category. Okay, accounting software, the database information. This would be part of the intangible asset. All right. Now, when used, again, when used, there will be expense charge, but this time the expense is called amortization expense. Okay, so when used, the amortization expense is charged for the intangible asset. So you have to make sure that you take note on the different names of the account that we are using for the PPE and for intangible. For PPE, you have depreciation. For intangible, you have amortization, right? So we have two different names for the expense account that you'll be using, okay? All right. So hope that you understand the term current assets and non-current asset, and you know the most liquid asset already. Okay. Now let's for rental, someone Kun Yu Mimi, right? Kun Yun Mimi talk about rental. Rental is this one, it's the right of use นะตรงนี้นะ See that, Kun Yun Mimi? So it's going to be on this in a separate account called right of use asset. So that's related to the rental. Now let's move along to the liabilities. All right. So let me go back to the definition of the term liability so that you know what liabilities are. For the liability, everyone, is actually the obligation that is at the present time that the company has, and in the future the company will need to pay back in whatever format, right, to whomever. So at that point in time the economic resources wouldn't be paid out, and you know, you're gonna lose some of the benefits. Let me elaborate on this. Let's say that you sign loan contract with the bank. Right? You go to the bank and then you sign loan contract. So you basically borrow money from the bank. So if you borrow money from the bank, you are obligated to pay them back, right? So in the future period, then you have to pay them back, pay them back, pay them back, pay them back money, right? So that's the obligation that need to be fulfilled in the future. In some cases, the liability may be fulfilled in some other forms rather than paying cash. So, you know, if you borrow money, then you have to pay them back in cash, right? That's simple. But in some other cases, you may have to pay them back in the form of services, in the form of products, or maybe in some other format. So it doesn't mean that you have to pay them back for all type of liabilities, right? It could be, you know, service that you have to render or products that you have to deliver. That can be the way, you know, to fulfill the obligation as well. Okay. Now let's take a look at the liability of this President Bakery. If you look at President Bakery, you know, the company has 1 billion in liability, 1 billion. Right, 1 billion in the liability. All right. Now, as you can see, there's like current liability and non-current liability as well. So you have to split them into two parts: the current liability and the non-current liability. All right, split them into two parts. So you may wonder, Ajahn, how do we classify them? By the way, exchange student, when I say Ajahn, AJARN, it means me. So all the teachers, all the professors in Thailand would then be called Ajahn. So that you would not get confused when I say, hey, Ajahn. I mean, students could ask me the question. Ajahn meaning professor. You know that already? Hela? Do you know the term Ajahn? Unfortunately, right, you're not, you know, part of the on-site classes, so you are not, you know, getting all these like Thai terminologies from your friends, Thai friends. So you may wonder, how do we classify the liability, right, into current liability and the non-current liability? So let me type this up. So we have current liabilities and also non-current liabilities, and the cutoff is also 1 year or less. 1 year or less of what, right? 1 year or less of what? When we say 1 year or less, in the case of liability, we look at the maturity date or due date. Okay, so we look at the time that we have to pay them back, right? As I said, we could pay them back in the form of cash, or we may have to pay them back in some other forms, right? And your friends ask, can we pay them back in the terms of ownership or stock? Yes, you can, right? Yes, you can. It depends on the contract. So it depends on the contract. It depends on what you agree, to do, right? So if in the term of contract, instead of paying out cash, you may have to issue the shares to them, right? That could be done as well. It depends on the contract, right? So it depends on the agreement that you have with that counterparty, right? But if the counterparty said, no, it has to be in cash, then you have to do it in cash. So it depends on the contract, right? Terms that you agree upon, okay? But if you said whether it's possible, then I would say possible, okay? But it all depends on the contract terms. And here you have to look into the maturity date or the due date of the loan, okay, or the liability. If the maturity date is within a year, then it's current. If it's longer than that, and then 5 years, 10 years, then it's non-current, right? So it's depending on the due date or the maturity date. Okay. Now I want to give you an example so that I could check whether you understand the way to classify the liability into current and non-current. So let me type up the information. Let's say that on Jan the 1st, on Jan the 1st of the year 2000 X1, meaning year 1. So 2000 X1 meaning year 1, company A borrowed a 5-year, right, bank loan. The principal of 1 million baht will be paid back in full at year end 2000 X5. Okay, so this is the information given on Jan the 1st of year 2000 X1, right? Jan the 1st of the year 2000 X1, company A borrowed a 5-year bank loan, 5-year, right, bank loan. And the principal of 1 million baht will be paid back in full one time at the end of year 5. Okay, so that's the information given. So let's say that I want to prepare the statement of financial position at year end 2000 X1, which is the first year. So my question to you is, would this 1 billion be classified as current or non-current? Current or non-current. So you type in CL or NCL. CL or NCL. CL is for current and NCL is for non-current. All right, very good. ถูกต้องนะคะ so it's NCL, right? So it's NCL. Okay, very good. So it's NCL. Now let me move along to the end of the year number 2. Okay, end of year 2. Time passes. Okay, everyone, time passes already, and we are now at the end of year 2. So would this be classified as current or non-current? CL or NCL? CL or NCL? Okay, so it's NCL, right? Still non-current. Okay, thank you for all the responses. Now, let's say that I move along a bit further to the end of year 3, end of year 3. So if this is the end of year 3, okay, if this is the end of year 3, so if this is the end of year 3, how do we classify the debt? Would it be CL or NCL? CL or NCL? Okay, it still be NCL, right? NCL. Now, if I move along a bit to year 4. Okay, so if I move along to the end of year 4, end of year 4. So if I'm at end of year 4, how do I classify this debt? End of year 4 นะคะ. All right. So if this the end of year 4, the maturity become near. Am I right? Do you agree on that? So if I am now at the end of year 4, then the maturity become near and the debt become current. Okay. So for those of you who say CL, you are correct. Very good of you. Correct answer. Now, let's say that I move along to the end of year 5. What do you think? End of year 5? End of year 5. Kun Pawarisa has a very good point here. Kun Nolani, right? Get in jail, right? All right. So actually, at the end of year 5, we have no more liability. So Kun Pawarisa is correct, and Kun Nolani is correct. All right. For the rest of you, you don't get any points from me. You get fooled by me. Don't lock. So at the end of year 5, if I ask you whether it should be classified as current or non-current, so you should say that there's no more liability because it should have been paid off already. Agree on that? It should be paid off already. So Kun Pawarisa, Kun Nolani have got the correct answer. Okay, now I have another example for you. Let's say that again on Jan the 1st of year 1, company B borrow 10-year installment loan. Okay, the principal for 10 million baht. Okay, so this is the information of another example. Let's say that on Jan the 1st, everyone, Jan the 1st of year 1. Okay, Jan the 1st of year 1. Company B borrowed 10 million baht loan from the bank. But this is not a straight loan. This is installment loan. So according to the condition of this particular loan, the principal of 1 million will be paid back at the end of each year. Every year for the next 10 years. So what does it mean by that installment loan? It means that at the end of year 1, you have to pay 1 million. End of year 2, you pay 1 million. End of year 3, you pay 1 million. So you keep on doing that until year 10. Okay, so you have to pay them back, right? You have to pay them back 1 million, 1 million, 1 million at the end of every year for the next 10 years. So it's not going to be one-time payment. So it's going to be multiple payment, or in other words, installment payment. All right. So that's the information given. So my question to you is, at the end of year 1, right? End of year 1. At the end of year 1, how would you classify the debt? How much would be, current liability, and how much would be non-current liability? You give me two numbers, right? How much is current and how much is non-current? You would have both of them, right? You have both of them. How much is current and how much is non-current? I want two numbers, right? Current and non-current. All right, it's not correct. The one that you have written, they're not correct. So how much is it for the current and non-current? All right. Let me explain this to you, right? Let me explain this to you. You borrow 10 million. Agree on that? You borrow 10 million. And then you borrow 10 million. According to the condition of the loan, at the end of year one, what do you have to do? End of year one, what do you have to do?
Paid 1 million.
Okay, so at the end of year one, you have to pay 1 million baht back. So you only have 9 million left. Okay, agree on that, everyone? At the end of year one, you pay back 1 million already, so you only have 9 million. Okay, and out of this 9 million, how much would have to be paid within next year? How much have to be paid within next year?
Another million.
Another million, right? So this 1 million that you have to pay back next year, 1 million that you have to pay back next year, that's current, right? Current. And what would then be the remaining amount of debt you have that would be classified as non-current? How much is it? 8, right? So the answer is 1 and 8. 1 and 8. Okay, so 1 million is the amount that you have to pay next year. So that's current. And another 8 million will have to be paid later on, right? Beyond that 1 million. Now, let me move along to year number 2, just to make sure that you understand. Year number 2, how much would be current and how much would then be non-current? So year 2, how much is current and how much is non-current? Just want to make sure that you understand.
It's 1 and 7.
Okay, 1 and 7, very good. All right, very good. It's 1 and 7. Kun Vipavi, you have a switch. Kun Vipavi, you have to switch that. It's 1 and 7, not 7 and 1, right? So it's 1 and 7. Okay. All right. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about that 1 million current asset. I'm sorry, liability, current liability. That 1 million current liability is actually called current portion of long-term debt. Current portion of long-term debt, right? Actually, if you look at the total debt, that's long-term, right? Total debt, that's long-term. But there's like current portion that you have to pay within a year from now. So that's current liability. Now let's take a look at the example over here. You see here current portion, right? Current portion, current portion. So the current portion here is the current portion of long-term debt, right? Lease agreement is long-term. Lease liability is also long-term. It's the same thing actually, right? So this is the current portion that need to be paid within a year from now, okay? Now, if you look at the information of this company, the company has trade and other payable. You may wonder, what does it mean by that? Trade and others payable. So let me explain to you the term trade payable, or it's just the same as the accounts payable. นะคะ this is unpaid purchases. Okay, unpaid purchases. Let me give you an example so that you understand what it means by unpaid purchases. Suppose that you are the company. You are the company, right? And then you buy the products from the supplier. You buy the raw materials from the supplier, right? So if you buy the products, if you buy the raw materials from the supplier and you haven't paid, you have not made the payment. So if that's the case, then if you have not made the payment, then you owe them money, right? You owe them the money. And that is what we call trade payables or accounts payable, same thing, right? Trade payable or accounts payable, they are just the same. Okay, so this is part of the liability that you have to pay back in the future to the suppliers. And another thing that I would think relevant to your understanding is the accrued expenses. So let me talk a little bit more about the accrued expenses. All right, accrued expenses. Accrued. For the accrued expenses, this is unpaid expenses, right? For example, you may have like wages payable. You may have utilities payable. Okay. Now, let me elaborate on this accrued expenses. Accrued expenses or the payables, right? It is actually unpaid expenses. Like for example, you may have wages payable. The employees have been working for you already. Right? Employees have been working for you already, but you haven't made the payment for their wages. You haven't given them money, so you owe them money. Or you may have utilities payable. Utilities, right? So what do we mean by utilities? It's the electricity, water, and phone, right? Electricity, water, and phone. You make use of the electricity, water, and phone already, but you haven't paid, right? So in that situation, you have liability called the utilities payable. Okay. So any questions about trade payables and accrued expenses? All right. Now, another item that I think you should also know is the corporate income tax payable, right? Corporate income tax payable. For the corporate income tax payable, everyone, the deadline for tax payment in Thailand is within 150 days after year end. So it's 5 months. Yeah. So that's the deadline for Thai law, for Thailand. You would have to pay tax for the corporation within 150 days, right? After the year end. So you basically have like 5 months time before you have to make the payment for the tax. So it's within a year, right? 5 months, it's within a year. So this is part of the current liability, right? So that's why, see that? This is part of the current liability. Okay. Now, another thing that I would like to talk about is the provision for long-term employee benefits. Provision for long-term employee benefits. Okay. Whenever you see the term provision, not provision, in accounting, whenever you see the term provision, you should know that this is estimated liability. This is not actual number. Now, provision means estimated liability. But why the employee benefit is the estimated liability? It is because, let's say that you are the company, all right? Let's say that you are the company, and then you promise the employees that if they continue working for you until they are retired, at the age of 60, right? 60. Then we will pay them money. And the amount that we will pay would equal to 70% of last month's salary for the rest of their life until they die. All right. So that's a promise that the company gives to the employee, that if they continue working until they are retired at the age of 60, after that, they would then get paid for the amount of 70% of the last month's salary till the day they die, right? If you think about this, right, there are a lot of unknowns. Am I right? There are a lot of uncertainties. There are a lot of unknowns. You don't know how long they will live. You don't know their last month's salary. You don't know whether they will continue on and then work for you until they are retired. So there are a lot of unknowns. There are a lot of uncertainties. So there's no way that you will be able to do the calculation to get the exact number. So this must be estimated numbers, right? Because there's no way that you would know for sure how long people will live. Okay, so the term provision means estimated liability. But why this is non-current? It is because you don't have to make the payment now, but you have to make the payment in the long future, right? Upon the retirement, then you have to, make the payment. So this is not part of the current, liability, but rather non-current. Okay, so hope that you understand the current and non-current liabilities. So any questions here?
If the employee is like 59 and you get retired soon, will it be the current liabilities?
Usually it would be part of this non-current, right? Non-current, okay? But I haven't seen the company, separate this out and then classify it as part of the current liabilities. Okay? I'm not sure about, the practice, but I haven't seen one. So mostly, this would be grouped together and then called as provision, right? Provision. All right.
Repeat one more time why it's under non-current liabilities.
Because you will need to pay them back upon their retirement, which is long time into the future.
Yeah, true. Thank you.
Okay. And so this is liability.
So when you pay them annually, that is current liabilities.
Should be, but I haven't seen the company that classified it like that.
After the exact employee retired, I mean.
Yeah, I understand you, but I haven't seen the company classify this as part of the short term. I need to figure out the practice on this, right? But mostly it's part of the non-current. But I do agree with you on that. So let me figure out, the practice, whether they do separate out and classify that as part of the current liabilities. But like in this case, you don't see it, right? Okay. So let me figure out and then let you know. So now let me move along to the third element, which is equity. All right. For the equity, remember at the starting of this class, I talked about 450 million shares, remember? So this is 450 million shares, right? And then you multiply that to the par value of 1 baht. So this is what you get. Okay. So how do we call this? Anyone remember? If I take 450 million shares and then multiply that to the par value, I get 450 million baht. How do I call this? One more time.
Authorized capital.
Very good. So this is authorized capital or registered capital. Okay, authorized capital or the registered capital. Very good. Good that you still remember. Okay. Now you can see that the par value is 1 baht, right? But when you issue the shares, meaning sell the shares to the investor, do you have to sell the shares at 1 baht price? Would that be the requirement? So let's say that the par value is just 1 baht. par value is just 1 baht. But when you actually sell the shares to the investor, do you have to charge the price of 1 baht, or you can charge for more?
I think we can charge for more.
Okay, we can. Of course we can, right? So over here, if you look at the information, you would see the term premium, right? Share premium, right? Specifically share premium. It means that you can charge them for higher price and you can get the premium. Okay, so let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. Suppose that the par value is just 1 baht, 1 baht. The par value is 1 baht, right? Baht is the Thai currency, exchange student. Baht is Thai currency. So if the par value is just 1 baht, and then you charge the price when you sell the shares to the investor, 5 baht. Okay, you charge the price for 5 baht, the IPO price. So this 1 baht, this 1 baht is the par value, right? So the 1 baht is the par value. And how do we call this 4 baht? Do you have a guess? How do we call this 4 baht? The amount that you get above and beyond the par. Right? So this 4 baht is the amount that you get above and beyond the par. You get more than the par. So how do we call this 4 baht? It is share. Share.
Premium.
The amount that you get above the par. So it's a share premium, right? You get the premium price, right? So this 4 baht is a share premium. Share premium, okay? So whenever you see the term share premium, you should know that the price is higher than the par. Right, the price of the share is higher than the par. Okay, any questions here for the premium?
How is it going to affect the shareholders? I mean, they might have some more decisions than those who pay just only 1 baht.
No one would pay 1 baht. You sell the shares at the IPO price, so no one would pay for 1 baht. Like for example, if you set the price to be 5 baht, all would then pay 5 baht because that's the price you charge them. Right, so no one would pay 1 baht. Right, everyone pay the price. So if you charge,
so what's the point of setting 1 baht par?
It's a legal amount, right? So it's a legal amount that you have to set when you register for the company. When you form a company, right? The government will ask what will be the registered capital. So you have to set the number of shares. You have to set the par value. So that's legal amount, right? Legal amount. But when the company actually sell the shares, the price would of course be higher than the par value, right? So any other questions that I can address before I moved on to the next one? Okay, so if not, then I move on to the term retained earnings. Retained earnings. So what does it mean by this term, retained earnings? Let me write it down here for you. Retained, meaning keep, right? So retained earnings means the kept profit, not paying out. So let me give you an example on this retained earnings and what it means. The term retain means to keep, okay? And the term earnings means profit. So retained earnings, what it means is the amount of profit that you keep, not paying out as dividend. Okay, so it's the amount of the profit that you keep within the company, not paying out as dividend. Let me explain to you by giving you example. Suppose that you can generate the profit for 100 baht, 100 baht, and then you pay out 20 baht as dividends. Okay, so you have profit of 100 baht and then you pay out 20 baht as dividend. What is this dividend? The dividend is the return that you give to the owners, to the shareholders. All right. So, it's the amount of the profit that you keep not paying out as dividend, right? So if you have the profit for 100 and then you pay out 20 as dividends, how much have you kept? How much have you kept?
80.
80, right? So that's 80 is actually your retained earnings. 80, right? The amount of the profit that you keep is the retained earnings. Okay, all right, so that's retained earnings. So over here, you get to see the information on share capital. You get to see the information on retained earnings. And not only, the equity is presented here. Everyone look at this, please. This is equity, right? This is equity. So the equity is presented here in the statement of financial position. And also you get to see the equity here as well. Okay. So if you look at the statement of changes in the equity, you get to see the share capital, share premium, retained earning as well. So they will be presented in both statements with a different level of details, right? So you get to see them in both places, but with a different level of details. Okay. So any questions here for the statement of financial position, equity? Okay, I would love to take questions if you have.
And one question, I have one question. The share premium, can you one more time explain that? So it's what you pay extra to get the shares, or?
Yes, it is what you pay extra to get the share. Like for example, let me give you an example with numbers. So let's say that the company issue one share, only one share, right? Make it simple. So let's say that the company sell one share to the investor, and the par value is just 1 baht, but the price that you charge is 5 baht. So you're gonna get money, right? You're gonna get money of 5 baht. Agree on that? You charge 5 baht, so you get 5 baht money. So you get 5 baht cash, but how do you record, right? How do you record? You will record 1 baht as a par value, 1 baht here as a par value. And then the 4 baht is the share premium. So if you ask, John, what does it mean by share premium? The share premium is the amount that you get above and beyond the par, right? So if you get 5 baht, right? If you get 5 baht, 1 baht is the par value. So the amount that you get above the par is actually 4 baht. 4 baht, right? So that's share premium. Clear on that? Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Ajahn, I also have a question.
Sure.
Do the share premium have to be the difference between the IPO price and the par value?
Yes.
Not
That's
the price, not the today price, updated price. No.
No. It's the IPO price, yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
What is IPO? Done.
One more time.
What is IPO price?
It's the price that you charge the investor when you sell the share for the first time. So the I is the initial, and P for public, and O for offering. Initial public offering, IPO price.
So in this
it's
case,
the price
IPO is
of
4
the
baht.
shares. So it's the price of the shares at the time that the company first issued the shares to the public. Initial public offering. IPO นะคะก็คือ initial public offering. So it's the price of the shares that you charge the investor at the time that you first sell the shares to the public. The question is?
So in this case, the IPO is 4 baht.
No. 5
baht.
5
But the
baht.
share premium is 4 baht.
Yes.
So other times, what about if not the first time, then the other times, we don't call it IPO anymore.
No, we call it PO.
PO.
So it's public offering, or sometimes we call that as seasoned, right? Seasoned public offering or just PO, public offering. So it's not going to be because it's not the first time. Okay. So why do you record share premium? The share premium is 4 baht, right? The share premium is 4 baht, and the par value is 1 baht.
Can you show the chat one more time? Because we can't see the chat.
Oh, what's the question on the chat?
If you can like share your screen again so that we can.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, so the IPO stands for initial public offering. So that's the price when you sell the shares for the first time, right, to the investor. So if you charge the price 5 baht, right, 5 baht, the par value would be 1 baht, and the share premium would be 4 baht. Okay. So any questions here? There would be a quiz นะคะ on the first part of this financial statements นะคะ up till page 15 นะคะ ตรงนี้นะ up until this นะคะ up until this so before the notes before the notes, right? So you look for the answer through the information presented here for the first few pages. Okay, so there will be a quiz on the first part of the financial statement presentation. So you look for the information of President Bakery Public Company Limited for about like first 15 pages before the notes to financial statements. So you will be able to find the information there to respond to the question. And for the exchange students, you cannot take the quiz today. So it's going to be later on, meaning that you can leave the meeting right now. And whenever you get in as a student, then we can take care of that quiz. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Then
okay.
Good evening. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you. See you next week.
Now you should be able to see the quiz. So you turn on your camera and then work on the quiz. You have 15 minutes until 4:15. And then at 4:15, you have to click submit and you can leave the meeting. Everyone turn on your camera, please. You have 15 minutes to work on this. And then whenever you are done, you click submit and you can leave the meeting. Again, the answer would be in the first few pages of President Bakery Public Company Limited. So you can look for that and then find the answer. So it's open book, but individual work. So you have to work alone, right? So make sure that you follow the instruction. Good luck to you.
So how do we do exchange student to access the quiz?
Exchange students, you cannot work on the quiz. You can leave the meeting now. You will take the quiz later on when you get the students at Dome email. Okay. So that's all for today,
Okay.
Kun Dylan.
Yes.
You can leave the meeting now, ka.
Okay.
It's going to be later for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
อาจารย์ครับ so the square type of question, do we need to answer more than one answer or no need to do that? อันไงไปไหนล่ะ
น่าจะตอบมากกว่า1ข้อได้นะเจถ้าเป็นสแควร์แต่เรายังไม่เจอข้อนั้นเลย แต่เดี๋ยวเราน่าจะรออาจารย์กลับมาอีกรอบหนึ่งเดี๋ยวลองถาม
ที่รักเราควิสเราคุยกันได้เหรอลูก
อาจารย์ครับเมื่อกี้มีคำถามครับ จะถามว่า
เราไม่ถามกันนะคะลูก เราไม่ถามกันนะเราควิสเนอะ
ถามอาจารย์ครับ ข้อที่เป็นให้ตอบเป็นช่องสี่เหลี่ยมครับจำเป็นต้องตอบมากกว่า1คำตอบไหมครับ หรือว่าไม่จำ
ครู
เป็น
เขียน instruction แล้วไหมคะลูก หนูอ่านไหมตัวเอียง instruction นะคะที่อยู่ใน bracket อ่ะครูเขียนแล้วไหมคะลูกครูเขียนว่าอะไรคะครูเขียนไหมล่ะครูเขียนว่าอะไรลูก
ตอบมากกว่า1ครับ
ครูก็เขียนชัดแล้วหนูจะมาตะโกนถามกันทำไมเนี่ยเดี๋ยวจะโดนควิสมาตะโกนถามกันเดี๋ยวครูเขียนใน instruction แล้วนะคะว่ามันอาจจะมีมากกว่า1คำตอบฉะนั้นนักศึกษาก็ลองดูก็ตามที่ครูเขียนนะคะลูก
อาจารย์คะส่งได้ถึงเวลาเท่าไหร่นะคะ
15 ค่ะ 4:15 ค่ะ 15 นาทีค่ะ